The amount of chaos spawns that spawn should be reduced in my opinion. As of right now, I feel like there's way too many that spawn and it's a pain trying to take on entire groups of them. And I think there should be no more than 2 to 3 chaos spawns at any given time. Either that or their health percentage should be reduced to where they're more on the same level as your average Tyranid warrior. Yeah, dude, this is the thing about the approach to chaos spawn that's kind of bugs me, to be honest, is they essentially can spawn at the rate of Tyranid majors, which is pretty high. Now, also, we have conditions in this game that can increase their spawns. You know, we do have a Majorous condition that is going to enhance Majorous spawns. So in those chaos missions, you will see a lot more chaos spawns. This is personally why I feel like difficulty is so inconsistent, is we just have these conditions that can amplify vanilla problems, essentially. Dude, right now, chaos spawns, as far as like a pack of 2 to 3, I don't think that's really the issue. I do think 2 to 3 at any given time, like only max 3 chaos spawn. I think that's a little insane. Well, insane's probably hyperbole, but yeah, I don't think we need 2 to 3 chaos spawn limit. That I feel like is a little bit too much of a nerf. However, it is still kind of odd that we can see like 10 chaos spawn. Like, so what basically happens is there will be multiple packs of spawns, and yeah, there will be like a rubric, maybe a disc shaman, maybe like 1 or 2 chaos spawn. But since we have other packs of spawns, you can potentially get 1 or 2 chaos spawn, 1 or 2 chaos spawn, 1 or 2 chaos spawn. So at the very least, it's 3. And then at the worst, it's 6. And then you include the chaos spawns that are already on the table that don't need to get teleported in there, essentially. So, essentially, you can have, at the very least, 3 chaos spawns spawning in that also, in addition to the other chaos spawn that were already there, could be like 1 or 2, maybe even 3. So, yeah, so like at the least, at the easiest scenario in this situation I just made up off the top of my head, you have 6 chaos spawn. Like, come on, like I feel like I'm a little bit accurate with this because I am kind of cherry picking what happened to me yesterday with the weekly, where it's like, yeah, the weekly is pretty easy. Oh, great, we have 6 chaos spawns spawning in, and there's 2 more on the way. Oh wow, this weekly all of a sudden just had a huge difficulty jump out of nowhere. In my opinion, it still bugs me that the difficulty spike chaos spawn basically applied to the situation is more difficult to deal with, in my opinion, than extremists. So you know what? We need a sound cue like extremists. We need a sound cue. Whenever we see chaos spawn, it should have the extremist sound cue going just to get everybody in the right mind state. Because yeah, too many times I've seen, especially recently, it's like, oh man, we're doing a great job here. Oh wow, there's like 2 to 3 chaos spawn over there. Oh, enemies are spawning in? Dude, where did all of these 8 chaos spawn come from, dude? But yeah, same level as your average Tyranid warrior. I feel like Tyranids already have pretty heightened spawn rates because they're Tyranids, which is, honestly, yes, that should be the case. I think chaos spawns should spawn less than your average Tyranid warrior. I genuinely think it stacks up weird because it's like, yeah, you'll have a rubric spawn in with 2 to 3 chaos spawn, and then there's another spawn of enemies where it's like 1 rubric, 1 Zangor, 1 chaos spawn, but you still have like a handful of majors and half of them are chaos spawn. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about this as far as lore. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe chaos spawn are in abundance with the Thousand Suns. So maybe half of their entire warband really is chaos spawn. If that isn't the case, yeah, they need a spawn nerf, 100%. I mean, honestly, even if the lore says, hey, half of all Thousand Suns are chaos spawn, I still think they need a nerf in the game, dude. As far as a spawn rate nerf, I think, honestly, their health percentage isn't too bad, but they can essentially circumvent that by just stun locking you, essentially. These meatballs are a problem. Prestige 3, level 19 heavy, hoping to have fun trying out the heavy flamer on a random quick play substantial match. Their animations and cues aren't that bad. They try to fake a player out by waiting after the blue parry indicator. Don't know if that's intentional or not. As far as like the movesets for the Chaos Spawn, I actually don't have an issue with them. The thing about Chaos Spawn movesets that bother me is the stun locking, first of all, and then the damage it does. For a Majoress, I feel like the damage they do is definitely pretty high. I don't know which off-screen is worse. A rocket spamming Terminator, like hitting you off-screen, or a Chaos Spawn just hitting you with a basic attack off-screen. Sometimes, you know, sometimes it feels like the Chaos Spawn is the worst attack to get hit off-screen because of the stun lock. At least with the rocket spamming Terminator, you can potentially get some contested health back. With Chaos Spawn, sometimes that's a larger issue. For me, that's not an issue. 1 or 2 easy, but when there are 7 or 8 of these meatballs obscuring vision, doing quick slashes and jumping in and dunking on you like Prime LeBron from across the court, it gets a little ridiculous. Okay, yeah, I mean, I think that's fair imagery. Yeah, pretty accurate imagery right there. There's no player that can take in every indicator and every animation and flawlessly maneuver through 7, 8 meatballs rolling in and going bonjour. That's not even taken into account every other enemy as well. I see more Chaos Spawn than Rubric Marines. Part 2 of their combo stun lock like crazy during substantial mission when there were like 2 Chaos Spawn. I made one mistake focusing on a Rubric Marine, calling in backup. These 2 Chaos Spawn stun locked and took out every armor segment and all of my health, including the 30% health perk for heavy in a literal snap of a finger. Yeah, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, these enemies, the Chaos Spawn, as far as their damage output, their effectiveness, their spawn rates, everything boils it down to the point that Chaos Spawn are larger threats than... I'm getting to the point where I genuinely think Chaos Spawn are the biggest threat in the game in general. Like, dude, like Neurothropes. Neurothropes are comparable to Chaos Spawns. Like, that just so... That doesn't feel consistent. At the very least, that does not feel consistent. Either tune down the spawn rate, like with the Spore Mines a few patches ago. Their spawns were accidentally high, admitted by the developers. Well, dude, the spawn rates for the Chaos Spawn, even from the own devs' admission, they have mentioned that they purposely made Chaos spawn at higher rates than Tyranid Majors. And then they nerfed it to spawn closer to Tyranid Majors. I just don't like that. I feel like why would they make a Chaos enemy feel like they need to spawn as a Tyranid rate? That feels like they're just pouring in Chaos Spawn at launch, or at Chaos Spawn launch. They were just pouring them in, and then they nerfed it to where we're still flooded with Chaos Spawn. Like, I don't know. I just think a Tyranid spawn rate shouldn't be even thought about, in a sense. Like, don't think about the Tyranid spawn rates. Those are different enemies. Compare Chaos Spawn spawn rates to, like, something like Disc Shaman. Maybe they need to spawn more than Disc Shaman. That makes more sense. But, like, yeah, being like, hey, Chaos Spawn, let's give them a spawn rate of more than Tyranids. On paper, that is so ridiculous, man. Like, that is pushed. That is pushed. What I mean by that is the devs wanted this enemy to be a problem, essentially. They wanted the enemy to feel impactful, and they put the enemy in a position to be the strongest major in the game by far, to the point where it feels like an extremist enemy. So I just think the devs need to tone something down for sure. I don't like the difficulty spike in normal. Like, when I'm playing normal, honestly, it does make things a little bit interesting, but it feels tough to swallow when it's like I'm playing normal with like a Prestige 4 level 25 class, and then I'll have one teammate maybe level 25, maybe Prestige 2 or something, and then I'll have another teammate who's fairly leveled as well, but they're lower level. And like, also seeing players on my level, like, basically dying to Chaos Spawn in normal mode, which I have done as well, it definitely is a tough pill to swallow, for sure. It's like nothing else in normal can do that to Prestige 4 level 25 players. That's not like a Neurothrope or Death Beam through a wall situation. Like, it doesn't make sense. Why is Chaos Spawn the only difficulty spike in normal when we still have the same enemies? That's like, in my opinion, that's the example that really shows Chaos Spawn standing out in a bad way. Tune down the health, just gotta learn their animations. At best, a person can focus 3, maybe 4 of these guys at once and have a rough time, but 7 to 8 is ridiculous. Yeah, being able to tell what 7 to 8 Chaos Spawn are doing is kind of impressive. Like, yeah, they have a lot of wacky attacks, man. And yeah, to be honest, like, I really like approaching this Chaos Spawn conversation because I think it's interesting. Like, the devs want to balance us, right? Like, oh, the heroic bolt sniper, oh man, it's too OP if you get ammo back with versatile precision. Wow. But then it's like the Chaos Spawn situation where they're spawning at ridiculous rates. They are practically putting players into lethal after one shot, lethal range to death. Like, basically, if you get hit by a Chaos Spawn, you're at like a little sliver of health. That is my point. Like, they're putting you into lethal territory. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like, the devs love balancing us, but when it comes to enemies, man, let's take our time to really figure this out. Dude, I just don't like it. It's a really difficult situation to ignore. That's pretty much my point here. They truly are quite ridiculous. I don't mind difficult enemies, but the meatballs are just straight up BS. They spawn in numberless hordes, and there's just no way you can account for all their different attack timings with the way they delay after the parry notification. Well, dude, again, it's not... The delay in their attacks don't really bother me, as long as I can see what they are doing. When they start to, like, stack up together, that's when it becomes an issue, because you can't tell which tentacle is being thrown at you, essentially, because they all have tentacles, and yeah, there's a whole bunch of them, or whatever. I don't know. I guess they don't really have tentacles, like traditional tentacles, but like they have these like weird arms. I don't know what to call them, like flabby arms, I guess. No, but seriously, like Chaos Spawn are funny in a sense, but they are very infuriating. Don't let Chaos Spawn being goofy put your guard down. They still need a direct nerf. Like, even if it's, I'm not even asking them to get gutted. Some days I am, but today I'm not. Today I'm not asking Chaos Spawn to get gutted. I want to see Chaos Spawn do less damage. Less damage. If they don't adjust their spawns, they need to do less damage, because they still be able to stun lock. You know, they can still stun lock you. So the damage being high, in my opinion, is just overkill. It's not necessary, because you can stun lock a player and take away their entire armor segment and health pool regardless. You know what I mean? So yeah, they are super pushed, man. Not to mention, you are also dealing with all the other BS Chaos throws at you at any given moment, along with the meatballs. Their spawn rate either needs to be toned down or be exclusive with the regular Marines to some extent. Yeah, I agree. I still don't like the way the devs approach this enemy. I don't like the way they try to, compare Tyrannid spawn rates to Chaos, because obviously that's just not 1-to-1, you know what I mean? But yeah, we see suspicious stuff all the time with Tyranids now also, like with ranged Tyranids just being spammed at us, Vine Mines like building up in a second where you see like 6 Vine Mines out of nowhere. There's a lot of silly stuff in this game, but I feel like Chaos Spawn is the one thing that stands out, because it is, across the board, a difficulty spike in an enemy. I'm just not too sure you can balance the game around that, or at the very least, if you don't want to balance the game around that, if you don't want to nerf Chaos Spawn, then give us the tools, man. Don't nerf the heroic bolt sniper for no reason when you're not going to adjust the enemy that is effectively going to counter that weapon. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm getting tilted. They should just make them extremists and have them spawn in groups of 3. I get that they wanted another Majorist for Chaos, but right now they're either too tanky or too lethal for the amount they spawn. Arguably, a part of that does come from their erratic combos. I mean, some of their combos are really only an issue when there's a bunch of Chaos Spawn together. Like, honestly, if you can't tell where they are swinging from, that's when Chaos Spawn becomes an issue. Not to mention, their basic combos are the most threatening part about Chaos Spawn, in my opinion. They're erratic attacks, their erratic combos. Yeah, like any of their charge AoE attacks or their projectile attacks or whatever, I'm not bothered by that. I think they're cool. Honestly, like the Chaos Spawn moveset and their design and everything is good. It is good for an enemy. And they are threatening, they're uncomfortable to look at. I think they really did nail the vibe of Chaos for Chaos Spawn, at the very least of what I'm used to in the game, you know what I mean? Because, yeah, at some point, Disc Shaman were pretty unpredictable. Now they're pretty predictable. So the devs wanted to make sure that Chaos keeps us on our toes and everything. I think that's fair. I definitely think the way they approach this enemy is fair to an extent. It's just their stats. Like, honestly, their stats, they definitely did not pay attention to, in my opinion. Yeah, the heroic bolt sniper, it's still kind of odd. They would nerf us and then look at Chaos Spawn like, oh, well, they at least have their crit shot back. Surely they're fine because of that. It's like, no, man. No, you approached a Chaos enemy, a different enemy type, with the idea that they should spawn in the same rate as the other enemy type that is purposely supposed to be very numerous. There is supposed to be a flood of Tyranids. I mean, for Chaos Spawn, I'm not too sure what their numbers are in lore, but still, I just don't think as far as in the game, it is the same nature of Tyranids to, at the same extent, just be like, hey, Chaos Spawn, dude, they should spawn like Tyranid Majors. Yeah, that works. In my opinion, I just feel like that's not one-to-one, you know what I mean? I feel like if you just threw in a whole bunch of Tyranid Majors during like chaos fights, you can definitely see a similar reaction. Like, yeah, for example, for whatever reason, if you were to spawn one rubric, one disc shaman, and 2 bone swords, and then those 2 bone swords rush you down, dealing with the disc shaman is probably going to be a little bit more difficult. Now, let's say you have 2 rubrics, a disc shaman, 6 bone swords, and then like a Terminator spawns in. You might be in a pretty rough spot. I think ultimately though, Chaos Spawn are still more threatening than Bone Sword Tyranids, but it's about their behavior that if Bone Swords were really playing as aggressive as Chaos Spawn, I'm not too sure you would be able to free yourself up to even deal with the Disc Shaman or even deal with the Terminator, as far as a solo standpoint, I guess, but still. Ultimately, you kind of get my drift here. The devs definitely underestimated how much the Chaos Spawn benefited from having Tyranid tier spawn rates. But yeah, ultimately, I feel like they don't need to hardcore gut the enemy. I think they need to do 1 or 2 things. Yeah, spawn rates definitely should be adjusted, and then their damage. And it doesn't even have to be a huge nerf. Like, see, what we saw with Spore Mines, where they nerfed them by, like, what, 50% or something? I think the devs still understand that there's a bunch of Spore Mines, you know what I mean? Not to mention Biovores. Like, I feel like the devs, like, we were on the same page with that, but somehow with Chaos Spawn, it just feels like the devs are just kind of like, well, we need something to just beat everybody up. We need something to just be super, super overpowered or whatever. I don't even know if it's even correct to say the Chaos Spawn are overpowered, but they're definitely not balanced. They definitely don't have a consistent balance across the board to consider them being Majorist tier. I feel like they're Extremist tier, but they spawn at the rate of Majorist. Well, you know what? They can't be Extremist tier. Sorry. They can't be Extremist tier with that health pool, right? Well, we will see. We will see. Ultimately, though, I would like to see the devs nerf Chaos Spawn just a little bit on their combos, probably. If they keep the stun locking, no matter what the devs do as far as a nerf, the Chaos Spawn will still be a pain. So, I think the devs can take some solace in that. The devs can feel comfortable that even if they nerf Chaos Spawn even a little bit, there's still going to be a problem because of stun locks. Whether you'd like that or not, essentially. That's just how I feel. That it seems like there's a lot of people who are just not in a good mood to fight Chaos Spawn anymore. There's a lot of posts. Some of the posts I felt like weren't completely necessary to get the point across, but yeah, there was like 5 or 6 posts about Chaos Spawn recently, likely because of the new weekly. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I really hope the devs nerf Chaos Spawn. Yeah, let me know in the comments if you guys think Chaos Spawn still need a nerf. Do you think this is an issue of players needing to get good or whatever? But see, in my opinion, if you're talking about getting good, you still at least need a consistent fight. You know what I mean? You can't really get good if the circumstances change like dramatically from one fight to the other just because of how many Chaos Spawn are on the floor. It's wild. It's wild in my opinion, just to see the difficulty spike, seeing players who are good at the game jump into normal stratagems and fight Chaos Spawn with like strategic strikes, and then seeing those same pretty good players die immediately. It just, yeah, at a certain point, you just have to admit, dude, this enemy does not... First of all, this enemy is not consistent, and then we also have the added issue of conditions. So this already brokenly inconsistent enemy is even more brokenly inconsistent in stratagems. That's just how I feel about it. Maybe that's not the case, but yeah, regardless, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about this, and thanks for watching.